So I thought it was important for me to make this video. Got my these baggy shorts, but I wanted to talk about my sister who passed away. Okay, so for those that don't know, I think I've shared this before, but I don't think I've shared this before. Many years ago, whenever I was a kid, and my sister moved into that house, the little girl that died that was being abused. My mom, didn't touch the child, wasn't allowed to, and she was being conditioned to. And what happened was, this guy had a barbecue one day, and there was like several guys that came over, like a family or something. It was like a couple of guys, it was like 2-3 guys, and I think it was like one or two Ivan's cousins. And Ivan knows who one of these guys is, which is the guy who used to take care, Ivan is the guy who used to take care of Miranda, who passed away many years ago, if that's her name. And this kid name was Julio. Well, Julio's father showed up, and he looked like he was in his late 30s, and he was about the same age, but he kind of didn't look like the biological father, kind of. I remember him wearing sort of these cargo-looking pants, and I remember he was frantically, excited that something happened to that girl, or that something was going on at that house that was worth a lot of interest. And I remember he was strictly focused on me. And whenever I was around him, I remember looking, because I kept on staring, because I looked and they were having a barbecue, like they were having a party, right? And I remember this guy, the reason he caught my attention, because he was one guy that had a cell phone. Back in those days, when I was a kid, if you had a cell phone, it was like a big deal. And so but he was like a wetback. You could tell he was like a wetback kind of guy. Light-skinned, kind of whitish looking guy. And skinny. Maybe about 5'8", 5'9", I'd say. 5'8", 5'9". And he had his phone, and I remember he came in like this. And I saw him walking past, and I kept on looking over the fence like this to kind of checking in, like, what's going on, or what's all this party stuff. And this guy was looking at his phone, he goes, like excited, like there was something that was going on there, and I don't even know, because I didn't even know who this guy was. And this is some of the greatest suspicions of things that always raised a lot of questions of what was going on there. Because I knew Ivan, and I knew the guy pretty well, and I knew that, obviously the transgender lady that lived there didn't live there until something like 8 months after they moved in, to a year after they moved in. So when he had his cell phone, I remember him looking, and he was just like, you know how, if you thought there was a whole lot of money, and you thought that somebody else was involved? So I knew 100%, I didn't know then, but I know now 100%, this guy, he knew that was my sister. Because he wouldn't have behaved that way. And I remember the way that this guy was behaving, because he had a cell phone, and he would be walking up and down, the side of the house, and going to the backyard, and they were having, this big barbecue, And I remember him just having a cell phone, and he'd look at me, and it's very unusual to look at a 9 or 10-year-old, like an 8 or 9-year-old kid repeatedly like that. Unless there's some sort of interest, because when I was a kid, usually adults just don't care about you, you just kind of, you're a little kid, that may give some sort of awareness to you, may look at you once, but this was not it. This was like he was pointing at the house, at the little girl, and then pointing at me, but he wasn't, and he was like, and he was just focused in on me, like there was something of high value that he was very interested in. And I only saw this guy show up maybe 2 or 3 times at that house at a baby barbecue. I never saw this guy again. But I thought it was important for me to say something.